Scott Frank. I'm here in Denver, Colorado, and I'm the executive director of the Interoots initiative and co-founder with Ronald.
Yeah, and I'm Ronald Kibirige. I'm an educationist and a scholar from Uganda. I am the co-founder of Interoots, also the chair of the board of directors at the moment.
Interoots is an idea that Ronald and I have been talking about for a very long time. It's been incubating for probably about 15 years now, I guess. It's a roots up model that puts the conception, the implementation, and the assessment of community projects and visions in the hands of the community itself. Every project that we do is different, depending on the community with which we are working. But our goal is to remove barriers where they exist, and also to be a good faith partner to communities as they pursue their own visions and assess their success on their own terms. It's an exciting approach, and it's an approach we've come to call non-colonial philanthropy. And it's our first project, which we will talk about, is a pilot project that's happening in Kisasa, Uganda.
Are challenged with an education system that is focused on Western ideals, devoid of the already existing knowledge system within the local communities. What Kisasa community is doing is to bring this very important so-called informal knowledge closer to the so-called formal knowledge system, so that they can complement each other. And the result of this is a holistic, community relevant education package.
The community itself has come up with a vision for the TaSCA project, which consists of three main pillars. The first one is a secondary school, and it does require school fees from the community. But as compared to other secondary schools, as I understand it, the fees, since it's a nonprofit structure instead of a for-profit model, they're much more affordable. And more importantly, these fees were determined by discussion by the community itself of what is appropriate for everybody in the community, how can they afford, and what is meaningful, and also what will sustain this project as a community project. Meaning, when people pay their fees, they very much see it as supporting the project, and it's important to the concept of what this is about, of everybody coming together and supporting each other. Now, this is where it gets very cool. The fees that students pay, not only do they support the school, as most things do, but a majority of those fees, or a big part of it, actually gets deposited into an account for each student in the SACO, in the Community Credit Cooperative. So those fees are actually investing in the student themselves. That money in the cooperative, which is also a community cooperative that has accounts for community members that have deposited money there, then is lent out to the community for financing for local agriculture, businesses, and other economic ventures. And more importantly, to families to subsidize their education in the long term. SACO also has a really cool program called the GEF, or the Graduate Enterprise Fund. So in these accounts for the students, once a student graduates, they're able to submit a plan to a community board that says, this is what I want to do next. I want to start a business, so I want to continue my education. And the board approves that or discusses it with the student, and they get all that money back, which is great, because that was one of the challenges identified. And they can either invest in business, continue their education, etc. Third pillar of the project, the ICPA, brings into the school, which is through the rental of spaces, through performances, through the artistic performances throughout the region and possibly across the world. And there are many other revenue streams that are envisioned for this project, meaning although this partnership with Interoots in the community at the beginning is in the philanthropic context, in the long term, this is really a project that leverages economic resources, local resources, and talent, so that this project is completely self-sustaining without the need to try to buy into cycles of charitable giving, which are so problematic in the long term. So it's kind of the financial aspect of it, and it's really cool, holistic approach that we are excited to see come to fruition over the next couple of years.
Yeah, this kind of model and financial literacy, culture, education, traditions, all put together produce a holistic and much more realistic, but also community relevant education package.
I think the theme of invest in people is very important. One thing that I would say that if, and I'm sure Ronald would agree, is this approach, or trying an approach that is different. It can be hard to embark on that path when one considers the risks and the resources and the challenge and the time and the effort it takes to have a comprehensive kind of approach to education, when so many times education is approached in one way and there are resources for it. But I would just like to say that even though we've embarked on this challenging path, the rewards have been incredible. On this International Day of Education, it's important to dream different, because what's right now and what's being implemented right now is obviously falling short. So this is the way to a better system, and we're excited. And there will be challenges, and there's things that we will continue to confront and barriers. But when you approach it as an holistic community, nothing is impossible.
We are very different communities all over the world, and we have different dynamics. We have different challenges that we face. But an education system that is devoid of community ideals is short. I would say we should look at ways of approaching change, so that and within this change we are able to uplift community according to their ideals, not putting them in a box that everybody, because this is what is international, this is what everybody should take, because we have different approaches, and there's so many things within community. Again, I will say there are so many things within community that are special to these communities, and they can start from where they are to develop further, in as far as transfer of knowledge is concerned. On this day of the International Day of Education, I would challenge everybody in the world to look at these two knowledge bases, the so-called the informal and the formal, to see how we can bring them together, because believe me, bringing them together makes them stronger.